Going through a job interview is difficult. The interviewer is there to make sure that you are the right candidate for the job. They're going to grill you and make sure that they don't regret hiring you once the time comes. But this is a two-way street. By the end of your interview, you need to have a good understanding of what's expected of you from this new job position, what this company is like, and if this is even a job that you want to pursue. You're asked the same piece of information 12 times by 8 different people before even talking to the hiring manager. You're emailed the interview request 20 minutes before the interview is supposed to happen. You're told it's a video interview, but you don't even get a video link. The hiring manager is 29 minutes late to a 30-minute interview. You're asked dumb questions that show the interviewer didn't even read your resume. Look, the hiring process is never as simple as we want it to be. But if they have an entire HR department who is incapable of even scheduling an interview without making you have to jump through hoops just so that they can completely ignore your resume when they do the interview, well, then that's something you need to watch out for. Then you have to wonder if this cluster of a hiring process is just the tip of the iceberg. Why would working there every day be any different? Look, it's one thing when the job requirements are somewhat vague. These things are usually put together by the HR department. They're usually just a list of wishes and general ideas provided to them by the hiring manager, and sometimes the HR department doesn't even have the details to give you. But here's the thing, when you talk to the hiring manager, you need to make sure you leave that meeting with an understanding of what your job is, what your responsibilities are, and what your daily tasks are going to be. When you broach the topic of your day-to-day tasks and responsibilities, you should at least be able to have a broad understanding of what you'll be doing and feel somewhat comfortable with it. If they use a whole lot of meaningless buzzwords but never actually tell you what you're doing, this is a time when you need to start being a little bit more cautious about this job interview. Had a 15-minute screener call and they want to hire you? Wow, they must have caught on to how incredible you are quick, without even having an interview with the hiring manager. Honestly, that just shows how good they are, that they were able to catch on to your talent that quick. Look, between you and me, I like you. I think you're pretty awesome. We could be friends. But here's the deal. When they don't vet your skills, when they don't vet your personality, when they don't try to understand if you're actually a good fit for this job, that's something that should actually concern you. It might seem easy at the time, but what you really have to question is who else has been through this process and not been vetted? How many unqualified people are working at this company? How many people are going to be working with you that are incompetent and don't make sense for the job that they're in? In reality, there are 2 reasons why a job is going to hire you that quickly. The first one being that there really aren't any job requirements, right? There's no qualifications. They don't much care who's in that job, they just need someone to sit there. And that's not usually the job that you're going for. The second reason why you might have been hired, and the more likely reason, is that they're desperate. And that's not to disparage you, that's to say that the last person booked it and they needed somebody to fill this spot right here, right now. And whether or not you were qualified, they need somebody. Sure, this job requires 10 years of experience on the job, 10 years of job experience that you don't have, but for some reason, the last person who had this job left suddenly, leading to your good fortune. But it's something that should concern you about working for this company. But that leads me straight into my next point that you should be watching out for, and that's high employee turnover. Have 10 different people had the job you're going for in the last year? Does Glassdoor have a negative 3-star review on this company? If you see the current employees bolting for the exit, that is a clear and obvious sign that there is something wrong with this company. It could be that they have a horrible boss. It could be that there's an insidious company culture. It could be any number of reasons. But when you see current employees bolting 5 weeks after they get there, that is a clear sign that there's something wrong with this company, not the employees. Now, you might not always be able to tell from the job interview how high turnover is, right? That's not something they usually just come out and tell you. Now, a good tip for this is to ask the interviewer if there are people that you can talk to currently working for the company to get a feel for what it's like to work there. If just the thought of you getting real feedback from employees is something that's making the interviewer nervous, that's something that should concern you too. And that leads us to our final red flag that you really don't want to ignore during the hiring process. And that's when, in your interview, the hiring manager starts criticizing current or past employees. It's not only unprofessional, it's childish. If the hiring manager is willing to insult and criticize current or past employees in front of a new hire, in front of somebody that they're interviewing, well, then that tells you that they're going to throw you under the bus the first second it benefits them. It's that kind of petty high school drama that makes for an awful work environment. You need to know that your manager's got your back. And if they're selling out colleagues in the middle of an interview, what's to say they're going to be any different every single day when you work for them? Look, I'm not saying you need to be best friends with your boss, but there is a minimum level of decency and professionalism that you should expect from those that you work with if you're going to have a job that's not going to make you miserable day in and day out. If you run into one or more of these red flags during your interview process, you really need to take some time to consider what you know about this company and if this is really the job that you should be going for. It's almost always better to hold off a little longer and find a job that's a good fit for you rather than taking the first job that you're going to be miserable in and probably leave in 6 weeks anyways. And if you're going for your dream job and want to learn how to impress the interviewers, check out this video right here so that you can learn the cheat code to doing behavioral interview questions and get the job that you deserve.